There are a handful of things in my life that I don't revisit very often. Not because they were bad, but because I'm a little afraid of what I'll find when I go back. Not everything survives a reread. Not everything survives you changing. Some things feel smaller, some things feel embarrassing, some things make you wonder why you love them in the first place. And every once in a while, you go back to something and it hits you the exact same way that it did the first time. Maybe even harder. That doesn't happen often. But when it does, it messes with you a little. I'm Darv James, and this is the Book Geek. So today I want to talk about a series that quietly defined a huge part of my early BookTube experience. A series I haven't talked about in years. A series I know isn't going to pull big numbers, which is kind of freeing, honestly, because this video isn't for the algorithm, it's for me. And maybe, for a few of you who were around back then, who accidentally picked up these books thinking they were something else, well, this one is for you. Let's talk about The Nevernight Chronicle by J. Kristoff. These books have history for me, real history. They were my first ARC I ever received. For anyone who doesn't know what an ARC is, it's an advanced reader copy for this channel. Seriously. And not through some big, flashy publisher relationship either. I got them via a Goodreads giveaway of all places. Which is funny because I genuinely hate Goodreads. I hate that website. We're not getting into that. That's a different video. A darker video and possibly a rant filmed at 2 a.m. in the morning. But at the time, getting an ARC felt huge. It felt validating. It felt like someone had finally, somewhere had gone, yeah, maybe this guy belongs here. And then I opened the book. I remember being pulled in immediately, the darkness, the atmosphere, a world where the sun never truly sets, just hanging there, watching, judging, existing, everyone beneath it. It felt dangerous, it felt old, it felt oppressive, but in a good way. There's a very specific Renaissance energy to these books, the politics, the violence, the cruelty wrapped in beauty. It feels like a world that would smell of blood and incense and rot if you stepped into it, and I love that. I love how unapologetically dark fantasy it was. The edge, the confidence, the fact that it wasn't trying to soften itself to be more palatable. And yeah, I even love the footnotes in book one, which I know, oddly divisive. But I'm like, you could either read them or completely ignore them. They weren't homework, they were just little asides, little whispers from the author saying, here's more if you want it, take it or leave it. And I think what really sums up this series as a whole is you either love these books or you hate them. There's no middle ground, there's no polite shrug, no, yeah, it's fine, I guess. People bounced off these books hard and I completely understand why. But for the people they worked for, they really work. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Nevernight as a series is that people presumed it's YA. And I get where that comes from. The protagonist is 16, and that's where the story really begins. But let me be very clear. These books are not YA. They're not even close. If I had a theoretical teenage child, I would not be thrilled with them reading the series. The violence is brutal, the themes are bleak, sexual content is explicit, and the moral compass is generous at best. This isn't a coming-of-age story wrapped up with soft edges and pretty candles and aesthetic. It's a story about trauma, obsession, revenge, and the cost of becoming something monstrous in order to survive. Mia is the daughter of an executed traitor. Her life is shaped by that moment, by public failure, by betrayal, by watching everything she knew collapse. And she ends up in a school of assassins. Not a cute one, not a whimsical one. A place where the art of killing, patience, precision, cruelty, restraint are taught. And what I love is that the books never pretend this is noble. Assassination isn't romanticized as heroism. It's treated as a craft, a tool, a means to an end. Mia isn't a good person. She is never meant to be. And then there's the cat in the shadows. Part companion, part consciousness, part chaos, part conscience. It acts like her counterpart when Mia is controlled. When Mia plans, he reacts. It's one of my favourite elements of the series because it extensializes so much of her internal conflict without feeling like a gimmick. feels mythic, it feels old, like something that belonged to the world, and has belonged to the world for a very long time. Going back and rereading these books recently was honestly like a breath of fresh air. Not because they're comfortable, they're not, but because they remind me of why I fell in love with fantasy in the first place. Dark, immersive, slow, deliberate pacing, stories that trust you to sit with them instead of constantly juggling balls, for want of a better euphemism. I love that these books never feel rushed. They take their time, the tension builds, they let it build, and the payoff comes, it feels earned. Nothing feels accidental, nothing feels particularly cheap. If I'm being honest, and I usually am, sometimes to my own detriment, I can't read these books without imagining a score. Something classic, heavy strings, low brooding. Honestly, the kind of soundtrack you hear in Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio's family, is linked to these books in my brain. That same sense of history passing down in every scene, the feeling that violence is another language people have learned to speak fluently. And yes, I've always found it kind of funny. Jay Kristoff will basically interact with anyone on social media except me. No shade. I think he's just funny. I've been ignored constantly enough to feel when it feels intentional, and somehow it makes it even funnier. And no, I don't think it's intentional. I just think it's what people see and so on. But I have never been acknowledged in any way, shape, or form. Interesting mix. These books were probably the first time I stepped out of what I'd call comfortable fantasy. They weren't traditional, they weren't safe, they weren't trying to please everyone, and they shaped my early BookTube experience more than I probably realised at the time. They taught me it's okay to love messy books, divisive books, dark books. Books that make people uncomfortable. And rereading them now, older, more tired, more cynical, over the decade, they still hold up for me, and that doesn't often happen. So yeah, Nevernight won't be for everyone. Some of you will hate it, some of you already do. But for those of us it worked for, it really works, and sometimes that's more than enough. Now, if you guys want to support this channel, you're more than welcome to do it. You can buy me a coffee on Ko-fi, you can become a channel member, get early access and exclusive content on here and Substack, or join my Patreon. And if you also want to support and you can't do it that way, like, subscribe and leave a comment. Every little helps. Hype button works wonders. But sometimes you have to let the darkness in. If you don't, well, it's part of the human experience and you're missing a fundamental part of it.